Today I'm talking to you from somewhere that's pretty weird for me. Just off to the side behind me is my old primary school, and it's somewhere I haven't visited for like 11 years now. So being back here sort of makes me think a bit about how much I've changed and learnt since I was a student here. And I feel like the different stages of my life, I've really become a different person. Like, when I was at school, I wasn't interested at all in science through like all of primary school, most of high school. I had no ambitions to, do anything academic or go into science, and now science is basically my life. It was this sort of happy accident in a way that I got interested into something, and I think it was actually for me just watching documentaries on TV. That's the only place I really learnt about science, or learnt about the interesting things behind it. And just from there I had this passion and this interest, and I feel really lucky to have had that, because that's driven a lot of my career choices and study choices ever since. And now science is kind of like my entire identity. It's who I am. A lot of my friends are scientists, and I feel like some of the most interesting and motivations in my life are to do with figuring out the world around us. Now, pursuing something with such an interest is not, I think, without some sort of sacrifice. So I was never cool or particularly popular at high school. Like, I have a bit of a following now on things like YouTube. People here like hearing about physics, but probably not so much at school. And I sort of was a bit of an odd person out there. I didn't really have other friends that were super into physics. In fact, I didn't meet friends that were really like me until I got to uni. But I'll talk more about that later. I just want to say that I sort of feel it's a shame that being seen to pursue something like science is kind of a nerdy pursuit, and it's something that you're not going to be cool doing. But I was fine with that. And in fact, I'm actually really grateful now that I was really sort of shy at high school, because if I'd ever felt like it was possible for me to be in that coolest group or most popular, then I probably wouldn't have gone for science, or wouldn't have been really studious about it, because I would have probably cared more about maintaining some sort of cool identity or trying to fit in. I definitely did things that were against the idea of fitting in. So I remember in high school going to the library, and whilst everyone was sort of playing and joking around, I would actually go and pick up like a science book. I remember picking up Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time or New Scientist magazines, and actually just wanting to sit by myself and read them, and being okay with that, and being okay with the fact that doing that made me sort of seem like a bit of an outcast in a way. But I've always rather stay at home and read a physics book than go to a party or to go and get drunk. And I guess I'm not saying that you need to make those sort of sacrifices, like that you can't drink and party and study physics. Like, of course you can, but I guess in some ways for me, pursuing something so intensely as I have science did come with those sacrifices, but they didn't feel like sacrifices at the time, because I had no interest in partying and going out. I think one of the reasons that I love YouTube so much, and that I wanted to get involved on this platform, is because this was one of the first places that I did find people like me. I was really into the whole nerdfighteria thing, so I was a follower of the Vlogbrothers, and I found people there that were also like, wasn't just physics, but they were really into like certain subjects, and they were proud to call themselves nerds in a way, and to not care about what other people thought of them, and to just pursue what they were interested in, and to have intellectual conversations and talk about just interesting stuff without being judged. And finding that community on YouTube, because I didn't really have that in real life, was a big thing for me, and a big thing for my learning and being okay with being a nerd. In fact, I loved that term. I just wanted to find others that were also fine with it. Now, that was school, and I did go to a pretty small school, But it wasn't until I went to uni and was now majoring in physics that I found all these other people that were interested in physics too, and it was sort of mind-blowing for me because I'd never been able to have that before. And I was talking to people who also watched the same YouTube channels as me. They watched like Veritasium and Numberphile, and they loved those, and I was like, wow, I can actually talk about these things to someone in real life, because I'd never really spoken to people about it at school, because I don't know, I didn't know people that were as passionate about science as I was. And it was just so cool to be surrounded by these nerdy conversations, and for it to finally feel just accepted, and to no longer feel like I was making a choice to be a bit of an outcast by pursuing this. I was just sort of in my place, and it felt really good. So I have had some comments from a few of you guys that have been like, you know, how do I pursue something that I'm passionate about, whether it's physics, maths, computer science, something, but that I get teased for being interested in, or that my parents don't support, or my friends think I'm crazy. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that just if you know you're interested in something, try not to care about what that does to your social ranking or what your friends think of it at the time, because as you go on to uni or get more specialized, you'll find people that think exactly the same as you. You will always find friends, if you look hard enough, who will accept you for your interests. And you know, if you keep going and just stick with it, you'll get what I found, which was to be surrounded by people who are embracing the nerdy things, and you're no longer the nerd, it's just how it is. So just keep going, just keep pursuing what you know you're interested in, and eventually you will find other people that accept you for that and who share your interests. It's an amazing feeling to find that, but it can be a long road until you do. So just keep going and talk to other people here in the comments. I'll try to answer as many as I can. But I hope that people here feel like they can talk to each other about some of these things, and that you're not alone in having, I guess, pretty nerdy interests.